low flow Monare. Okay, author, poet, storyteller, thinker Sindiwe Magona has put together what has been described as a powerful piece of literature that shares an insight into issues that affect women. Her offering, Chasing the Tails of My Father's Cattle, is the story of Shmikazi, who is destined for great things from birth. Magona joins us from our Sea Point studio. Thank you very much for joining us, Magona. Please, in your own words, tell us, give us a brief synopsis of your story for the benefit of our viewers.
Well, thank you for having me. What is it? This is the story of a village, Zenzele, and in that village, the story of a family, mainly a father and his daughter. Jojo is the father, Shumikazi is the daughter. She is called Shumikazi, Shumi meaning 10, because she is the 10th child to this couple. Unfortunately, she is the only surviving one. She is the 10th last only surviving child, and the mother dies giving birth to her. And on her deathbed, which is the birth bed of Shumikazi, she makes a request to the husband, please look after my baby. And this becomes for Jojo almost like a mantra. It is something that never leaves his mind. This is the story then of a present father, a hands-on father, a loving father, a nurturing father, and his daughter. An important theme, I think, father-daughter relationships.
I think the other thing that makes the story so amazing is that even though he's a present father, he has to work away from home. And it's something that he battles with, that he struggles with, that even at some point when Shumi becomes aware, I mean, there's this 2-week period where they spend together and Shumi becomes aware of her father. He almost has to hide himself away from her when he leaves. It tells you the emotional commitment he has to his daughter.
It's a huge emotional commitment. And as I said, this is also the story of a village. This is a man who has made a commitment, but he has obligations. And work means not being a present father. And he struggles with this. But this is the story of rural villages in South Africa since industrialization, which has never been and is still not complete in this country. We have an industrialized country with villages that have not begun to smell this industrialization. Jojo represents the man or manhood in rural South Africa, manhood that is never there.
You've got this way with words, and I want to ask you where this love for words come from, because you describe Miseka as beautiful Miseka, tall with silken skin, the color of dacha seeds. Where does this love for words come from?
I grew up with words. I grew up with storytelling from my grandmothers, but also other people, aunts and uncles and older cousins. And this is a story written by a Xhosa speaking woman, who has studied English since way back when I started school a long decades ago. And so although I write in English, obviously, my mother tongue infuses and impregnates and colors the English language. So that's an idiom from isiXhosa, okokhozolomya, like the seed of dacha.
I also feel, Mum, that you've got this, maybe it's interwoven in a way that doesn't pronounce itself so obviously, but there's an education factor from the birth process that Miseka goes through to even the naming, the funny moment where the pastor doesn't like the name that was given. There's this, were you deliberately trying to educate, or is it just part of the writing process?
It's part of the writing process, but then we write about things that are important, things that touch us, things that move us, grieve us, things that make us ponder and just think about life a little bit more seriously.
Why?
The naming in,
Yeah.
in the tradition is very important. And sometimes within a family, there is conflict around the naming of a child.
Why the title Chasing the Tails of My Father's Cattle?
Again, that's stolen from isiXhosa. Silandela imichoba yenkomo zikabawo. Cattle represent in our tradition wealth. And nothing of importance happens without cattle. And in the lives of women, cattle are important because, for instance, when someone is getting married, there is an exchange of cattle. Because these cattle called lobola come and represent the young woman who's taken away from her birth family to her marriage family. They represent a kind of a contract, really, between these two families. And they mean that woman is never to be destitute. That's part of tradition. But is this in practice actually what happens?
Okay, Mum, we've run out of time, but thank you very much for joining us from our Sea Point studios. That is author, poet, storyteller, thinker, Sindiwe Magona, with her latest offering called Chasing the Tails of My Father's Cattle. It tells the story of Shumi, who is destined for great things from her birth. It's available at all good bookstores. Go and get it. We take an ad break. Don't get it.